But bringing out the big boats with the big guns, son, that we had back in the day, decommission. What's going on that y'all not paying attention to? First off, let's show you what it's all about. All day marathon, huh? Yeah.
Either the cartel didn't hear what President Trump said, or the cartel doesn't care about what President Trump said. Because allegedly, they're saying that the Mexican drug cartel just waged war on United States soil. But what was reported was that an illegal crossing was taking place, and of course, our military, the United States military, stepped in. And when they stepped in to stop the crossing, the illegal crossing, the cartel started shooting. You heard what I just said? The cartel started shooting. Now, allegedly, this is the second time there was an incident where the cartels have shot into America. And we all know how the cartel is. We all know that the cartel is very dangerous. And a lot of people wouldn't have the courage to mess with the Mexican cartel. So with this knowledge, you gotta ask yourself, what's gonna happen now? Because President Trump did say that the cartel were considered as terrorists. I don't think this is gonna end the right way.
Breaking news, folks, the invasion has begun. Mexican cartels didn't just threaten America, they breached into Texas. Armed, organized, and funded by billions in trafficking, they thought that they could just carve up U.S. oil like they've done before in Mexico. But here's the shocker. This invasion is already backfiring because while the Mexican cartels move in, the world just saw Texas Governor Greg Abbott and President Donald J. Trump unleash a coordinated counterstrike that no one expected. Marines, drones, precision intel. For the first time in decades, the cartels are not running the show. They're being hunted. And so this is where the real divide begins. The media and the Democrats are calling it American overreach, claiming Trump has gone too far. Did Trump really go too far? Y'all let me know, but ask yourself this. Do we just sit back and let foreign terror groups build empires in Texas? Or do we stand with leaders who finally have the guts to crush them? Now, stick with me, guys, because I'm going to show you how the cartel's $13 billion empire turned Texas into their next battlefield. Why Greg Abbott's breaking news.
So Trump said cartel terrorists, he coming at them, right? Big Old CC explaining how that's not gonna be an easy battle. They doing all type of rituals, pushing fent on the land, bro. This shit real and it's tied through multiple organizations.
Down to Mexico, I've been in Sinaloa, Michoacán. I've been in certain areas investigating trafficking. Now, peep this. In some of these locations, you pull up on these shrines. They have these shrines that they pray to. They make these deals with these entities. One of the rituals that they do is, shout out Quantum Kane, they fill up a barrel, set it on fire out in the middle of nowhere, Cam. They take their hand, burn it on the side of the barrel till it's bleeding, and then they drop the blood over into the fire. They make a pact with certain demonic saints, basically. And they believe that in order to keep them alive and to be prosperous, they have to continue to bring lives. They have to continue to murder. Now, to join, after you do this, you have to murder somebody that's very close to you. They pray to deities. They have these big shrines set up. We ran into a guy who had a rosary made out of human teeth. These people aren't just operating based off money and power. They believe that they have a right by praying to these saints, these narco saints. This is the type of evil that's taking place. Our country deciding to take them up as terrorist groups. They know the land, they know the area. They have the same technology. They were doing surveillance and kidnapping DEA agents that were operating in Mexico. That's what's, there's a program that the Israelis made to hack phones. They got it. The counter surveillance that they do. El Metro's group has the same armored vehicles, the same technology that any military will have. You know, this is not just going to be a sweep. There will be, we might see some crazy things take place, because when you land at certain airports in Mexico, the cartels have their own cell tower. So they're able to monitor that. They know who's coming in, who's coming out. They also have built several tunnels. There's a location in Arizona where, you know, you pay a certain amount of money.
Well, Trump said cartel terrorists.
If you or your loved ones are going to be traveling to Mexico in the next few months or even next year, just know that the cartels have put a warning out. They put a huge banner out. In that banner, they name Kash Patel, the FBI director, and they state that they're being hurt because too many of their shipments are being stopped, that they're threatening to hurt American tourists, to retaliate for what's going on with all their drug shipments not being able to get through. If you're going, or your kids, or somebody you know, send this to them. It's been confirmed. It's all over Mexican media. Soon you'll start seeing it here on American media. I usually get a little bit ahead of what's going on because I'm paying attention to other media in other countries. They're already talking about it. They're already discussing it. And it's legitimate. It's a legitimate threat. They're saying stay out of places like Cancun, Playa del Carmen, even Tijuana. They're even saying stay out of Tijuana because this is where if you or your loved ones are going to.
Am I woke or am I dreaming? Are you telling me that somebody placed a $40 million bond on this man's head? So you telling me Iran campaigned a $40 million bounty on Donald Trump? An Iranian movement called the Blood Convent is claiming to have crowdfunded more than $40 million as a reward for the assassination of Donald Trump. A website for the movement contained a poster of Trump in crosshairs with an appeal to detonate in order to help establish stable peace. They also quote a verse from the Quran: strive with your wealth and your lives in the cause of Allah. This is a call to jihad. All I'm gonna say is count me out. Now, this apparent threat comes weeks after the U.S. launched devastating airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. Like this shit right here, you just can't make this up.
Tonight, NBC5 Investigates has learned that 17 members of El Chapo's family have defected here to the U.S.
Now, several law enforcement sources have told our investigative reporter, Chuck Gowdy, that this unusual arrangement is all part of a plea deal in Chicago involving one of the drug lord's sons. Chuck Gowdy joining us now with late details on this story. Chuck?
Stephen, Allison, with the U.S. sending tens of thousands of Mexican citizens out of the country, tonight we have a story of why the Justice Department is paving the way for 17 relatives of drug kingpin El Chapo Guzman to come into the country from Mexico. Chapo's kin tonight essentially defecting for their own safety as part of a guilty plea deal in Chicago by one of the drug lord's sons. The 17 relatives of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman coming across the border with jam-packed roller bags, some filled with thousands in U.S. currency, according to U.S. authorities. Family members converging last Friday here at the border crossing from Tijuana to San Ysidro in Southern California. This woman among the group, Guadalupe Lopez Perez, one of Chapo's ex-wives, and the mother of Chapo's sons, Ovidio Guzman and Joaquin Guzman Lopez. Both of Chapo's sons being held here in Chicago on major drug trafficking charges. As NBC5 Investigates reported last week, Ovidio Guzman had...
Cartels are now officially in the Pentagon's crosshairs. And it's not just the wall anymore. Trump ordered the kill shot. The days of local drug busts and random motels, they were fun, but that's Breaking Bad stuff. Trump wants to take the fight to El Chapo's front yard.
We're talking about sending military forces to fight against the drug cartels in Latin America. Do you think it's worth sending our forces, our U.S. forces there to take this on?
Cartels where?
Central Latin America.
Well, Latin America's got a lot of cartels. They've got a lot of drugs flowing. So, we want to protect our country. We have to protect our country. We haven't been doing it for 4 years. And we love this country like they love their countries. We have to protect our country. So, we're playing a tough game.
According to the New York Times, behind the scenes, Trump's moving all the pieces into place to pull this off. Mexico's got a big problemo.
Yes, but it has nothing to do with Mexican territory. It has to do with their country. It does not involve our territory.
So it would be within the United States?
Within the United States, exactly.
El Presidente doesn't comprehende. This isn't a Mexican standoff. This is an order. The CIA is already flying surveillance drones over Mexican territory, gathering intel on the battle space. And Trump's not sending diplomats. He's sending Hegseth, maybe with a new title.
Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, Department of Defense, Department of War.
Well, that's what it was for many, many years. You gave me that knife hand, Will. We'll see. Stand by. I don't get in front of the commander-in-chief on that. But our job is to ensure our enemies know exactly what they will do to them if they threaten us, up to and including total wars.
You see, people on platforms think shit's a game till a bullet is in their head, right? All this brings us to we bringing out battleships. We bringing the carriers now. All this caused this.
Ford carries more than 60 aircraft that could be used against cartels. That's as the Trump administration says it has already killed 76 people in 19 strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific since September. So for more analysis, I'm joined now by retired Army Colonel Seth Crumridge. Colonel, thank you for your time. But for starters, why do we need an aircraft carrier in the region, and what kinds of capabilities does that give us?
It's a great question, Alex. So first, this is really about building stability and security in the entire Western Hemisphere. So yes, we're focused on Venezuela, but we're also focusing on those near-peer competitors. Think China, Russian influence, and other actors that are in the area that are not aligned with the United States. So we're sending a much larger message than just the illegal drug shipments that are moving in and the transnational gangs that are going through. When you look at an aircraft carrier, don't think of it as a ship with planes on it. Think of it as an entire warfighting armada. Yes, it has capability, but it also has guided missile.
We hold 7,000 people from this underneath the platform of the deck of the plane down all the way back. 7,000 men and women. It's integrated. That's just in the boat.
Destroyers, it has submarines, it has all of these cyber and digital disruption capabilities and intelligence capability. So this massive platform is there to A, show U.S. strength that what was happening before.
Taxi to a miniature city floating on the water.
Is not going to be tolerated going forward. And then the second piece is it provides that real strike capability if and when these strikes are going to happen in Venezuelan soil, which we believe at Global Guardian are going to happen, and they're going to happen relatively soon, because we haven't seen a lot of criticism from other Latin American country leaders. We've been striking these boats and there hasn't been much said, so you're seeing this increasing tension that's happening. But make no mistake, this is much bigger than illicit trafficking. Last week, I was supporting clients on the Texas-Mexico border with Global Guardian, and I can tell you that that is where the real point of illicit drug trade is happening. When you look at Venezuela, it's very removed from the United States, and these ships that we're destroying, they can't directly make it to the United States. But there's a lot of complexity here that goes much far beyond just the illicit drug trade.
Well, and with that in mind, and I understand that the situation is very, very nuanced, but when you have this aircraft carrier that's now in this region, if you're another country in Latin America that has a U.S. aircraft carrier not too far from your coastline, what does that posture tell you? Is that something that's alarming? Is it calming? Is it security?
I think it goes right to that key point of the U.S. demands stability and security in the region, because it's not just Venezuela that we're messaging. We're messaging Cuba, Nicaragua, sometimes Bolivia, and the Colombian leadership as well. That this is not just about Venezuela and just about Maduro, though we're focused on shaping his behavior or potentially removing him. This is really about, hey, what was happening before the 2025, all those activities, that's not what's going to happen going forward. And you see it in the National Defense Authorization Act. They clearly lay out that the Western Hemisphere is now a rising priority for us, and that we're going to invest these resources to not just put a political message out there, but have that military strength behind it to make sure that all the countries there receive the message that there is a new way forward for the hemisphere.
All right, Colonel, thank you for your service, and I appreciate your time, sir.
King of the East, King of the West, King of the North.
My name is Mark Fleischer. I own Top Shelf.
The great powers have spoken out against this aggression occurring in the Caribbean, this intimidation, this threat polluting the waters of the Caribbean Sea with hatred, with supremacism, with the intention of imposing and making the Caribbean Sea a closed sea for the interests of the United States.
As you can see, it's a lot of things going down. That's right, Angel, the beginning of what's to come. Be careful out in these streets. Braca!